The Atacama Radio Observatory sprawled across the Chilean desert like a congregation of metallic sentinels, their dishes turned skyward in eternal vigilance. For centuries, Earth had maintained its cosmic surveillance, listening to the void with increasingly sophisticated equipment. And for centuries, the cosmos had remained stubbornly silent. Dr. Josephine Frost adjusted her neural interface and squinted at the holographic readouts floating before her. Midnight had come and gone hours ago, but sleep was a distant thought. Something in the data had caught her attention, a pattern too regular to be natural, too complex to be dismissed. Artemis, run spectral analysis on Quadrant 7 again, please, she instructed the observatory's AI system. Analysis complete, Dr. Frost, the AI's smooth voice replied. Pattern consistency at 99.4%. Signal origin approximately 47 light-years from Earth, originating from the HD 40307 system. Josephine's heart quickened. That's a verified exoplanet system. Correct, the signal appears to emanate specifically from HD 40307G, the superhabitable planet in the system's Goldilocks zone. The astronomer leaned back in her chair, fighting to maintain scientific detachment even as excitement bubbled beneath her calm exterior. After 247 years of silence following the Great Disappointment, when humanity's early attempts at contact had yielded nothing but cosmic indifference, this could be it. Dr. Frost, Artemis interrupted her thoughts. Director Achafer is requesting your presence in the main conference room immediately. Josephine sighed. Of course, the AI monitoring systems had already alerted leadership. She gathered her data tablets and strode quickly through the gleaming corridors of humanity's premier listening post. The conference room's doors slid open to reveal Director Imani Achafer standing at the view screen, her tall figure silhouetted against astronomical charts. Beside her stood a man Josephine didn't recognize, broad-shouldered with a shock of silver hair and the unmistakable bearing of government authority. Dr. Frost, Director Achafer nodded, thank you for joining us so quickly. This is Director Haruki Tanaka from the Planetary Defense Coalition. Josephine felt a chill. The PDC's involvement meant this was already being treated as a potential threat. Is this really necessary, Director? She asked, gesturing toward Tanaka. We've barely confirmed the signal exists, let alone. The signal exists, Tanaka interrupted, his voice surprisingly gentle despite his imposing presence. And it's not the first. The room fell silent as Tanaka activated his secure interface. New data streams materialized in the air between them. 3 weeks ago, our listening post on Europa detected something similar. 2 days later, the Lunar Observatory picked up the same pattern. Both were dismissed as equipment anomalies until now. Josephine scanned the data, her scientific mind immediately grasping the implications. 3 independent confirmations from 3 different locations in our solar system, all pointing to the same exoplanet. They're targeting us specifically, Achafer said quietly. This isn't random cosmic noise. Someone is deliberately sending a message to Earth. Or something, Tanaka added. The holographic display shifted to show Earth's historical attempts at extraterrestrial communication. The ancient radio broadcasts, the digital messages beamed toward promising star systems, the quantum entanglement experiments of the previous century. For 2.5 centuries we've been shouting into the void, Tanaka continued. Now something has answered. Josephine ran her fingers through her cropped hair, trying to process the magnitude of what was happening. Have we made any progress decrypting it? Achafer shook her head. That's why we need you. The signal contains mathematical constants we recognize proof it's artificial, but the rest is beyond our current understanding. I'm an astronomer, not a linguist, Josephine protested. Which is why we've already contacted Professor Rohan Thorne at Berkeley, Tanaka said. He's the world's foremost expert on theoretical xenolinguistics. You'll be working with him and his team to decode the message. Josephine felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Rohan Thorne was brilliant but notoriously difficult, and their brief professional encounter at a conference years ago had ended in heated disagreement. There's something else you should know, Achafer said, her voice dropping slightly. The signal, it's getting stronger and it's changing. The director gestured and new waveforms appeared, the original signal compared with its current state. The difference was subtle but unmistakable. It's adapting, Josephine whispered, awe and fear mingling in her voice. As if it's learning our systems, adjusting to ensure we receive it clearly. Exactly, Tanaka confirmed, which means whatever sent this knows we're listening and it's determined to be heard. The conference room's lighting dimmed slightly as a priority alert flashed across all their interfaces simultaneously. Artemis's voice filled the room. Attention signal modulation has increased by 200%. New data packets detected. Translation matrix initializing. On the main screen, the incomprehensible alien patterns began to shift, mathematical symbols appearing alongside strange glyphs. And then, emerging from the chaos, a single word formed in plain text. Danger. Josephine stared at the screen, the single word pulsing like a heartbeat. After centuries of cosmic silence, humanity's first clear message from the stars was a warning. It begins, Tanaka murmured. Outside the observatory's reinforced windows, the Chilean night sky stretched endlessly above them, billions of stars, countless possibilities. And somewhere among them, something had broken its silence to deliver a message that would forever change humanity's place in the universe. As dawn approached, painting the Atacama horizon in hues of purple and gold, Dr. Josephine Frost knew with absolute certainty that this was Earth's final day of innocence. The signal had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. Berkeley's Advanced Linguistics Institute stood in stark contrast to the Atacama's austere desert landscape. Here, fog rolled across the bay as Professor Rohan Thorne paced the length of his cluttered office, muttering formulas under his breath. 3 days had passed since the signal's discovery, and sleep had become a distant memory. "You're approaching this all wrong," he said, not bothering to look up as the door slid open. "Language isn't just mathematics, it's context, culture, intent." Dr. Josephine Frost paused in the doorway, a steaming cup of coffee in each hand. "Good morning to you too, Professor." Rohan finally glanced up, his sharp features softening momentarily. "Ah, Dr. Frost, sorry, I thought you were one of my assistants." He gestured to the wall of holographic symbols floating between them. "They keep trying to force the signal into Earth linguistics parameters." "And that's wrong because," Josephine set a cup on his desk, careful to avoid the scattered tablets. "Because whoever or whatever sent this message isn't human," Rohan said, accepting the coffee with a nod of thanks. "Their conceptual framework, their perception of reality itself, could be fundamentally different from ours." Josephine studied the symbols. After the initial danger transmission, the signal had continued, flooding Earth's receivers with increasingly complex data. What had started as a trickle was now a torrent of information that defied conventional analysis. "We need Nadia," Rohan said suddenly. "Nadia Kauri, the AI architect." Josephine raised an eyebrow. "I thought you two had a rather public falling out at the Singapore conference." Rohan grimaced. "We did. She believes artificial intelligence is the key to understanding non-human communication. I maintain that only human intuition could bridge truly alien concepts." He laughed without humor. "Seems like a good time to admit I might have been wrong." 3 hours later, Nadia Kauri strode into the Institute's main laboratory. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her eyes, enhanced with retinal implants that gave them a subtle luminescence, scanned the room with clinical precision. "Let me guess," she said, dropping her bag on a nearby console. "The great Professor Thorne has exhausted all traditional methods and finally decided that computational xenolinguistics might have merit." "Something like that," Rohan admitted, "though I'd phrase it as a collaborative approach leveraging multiple disciplines." "Save the academic doublespeak," Nadia replied, but there was a hint of a smile at the corner of her mouth. "Show me what you've got." Josephine stepped forward. "I'm Dr. Josephine Frost from Atacama Observatory. I know your work on pulsation patterns in neutron stars," Nadia said, extending her hand. "Brilliant application of chaos theory to stellar acoustics." Josephine blinked in surprise. "Thank you." "Now," Nadia continued, "all business. I need direct access to the raw signal data. Not your interpretations, not your analyses. The original transmission exactly as it was received." Director Tanaka, who had been silently observing from a corner of the lab, stepped forward. "That's classified information, Dr. Kauri. We can provide you with everything or nothing," Nadia cut him off. "My quantum neural networks need unfiltered input. Any processing you've already done will contaminate the learning algorithms." Tanaka hesitated, then nodded. "You'll need to be connected to the secure government network." "Already done," Nadia replied, tapping her temple where a small quantum interface gleamed beneath her skin. "My systems are ready." The lab fell silent as Nadia closed her eyes, her consciousness partly merging with her AI systems. On the main display, data began flowing at impossible speeds. Symbols, mathematical constants, rhythmic patterns, all interweaving in a dizzying dance of information. "What exactly is she doing?" Josephine whispered to Rohan. Her neural implants allow direct interface with her proprietary AI, he explained quietly. She's not just analyzing the data, she's experiencing it, feeling its patterns, intuiting connections that traditional computation might miss. After 20 minutes of silent processing, Nadia's eyes snapped open. It's not a language, she announced. At least not primarily, it's a blueprint. She gestured, and the chaotic symbols reorganized themselves into a three-dimensional structure, a technology unlike anything they had seen before. This is a quantum entanglement communications array, she explained, rotating the display with a flick of her wrist. Designed to be built with materials available on Earth. Once constructed, it would establish instantaneous communication across light years. They want us to build this, Tanaka asked, suspicion evident in his voice. No, Nadia corrected. They need us to build this. The danger message wasn't a threat, it was a warning. There's something coming, something they can't explain in our primitive language, so they're giving us the means to have a proper conversation. Josephine studied the blueprint with growing excitement. This technology is centuries beyond our current capabilities. But not beyond our understanding, Rohan noted, already jotting notes. The principles are extensions of theories we've already developed. They're meeting us halfway. There's more, Nadia said, her voice growing serious. Embedded in the transmission is a timestamp, a countdown. New symbols appeared, resolving into a numerical sequence that slowly ticked downward. 47 days, Nadia translated. Whatever they're warning us about, we have 47 days until it arrives. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. We need to build this device, Josephine said finally. We need to know what we're facing. Tanaka's expression remained skeptical. And if it's a trap, if building this technology compromises Earth's security, then we're already compromised, Rohan countered. They've demonstrated technology far beyond ours. If they wanted to harm us, why warn us at all? Unless the warning itself is the weapon, Tanaka murmured. Nadia's interface chimed, drawing their attention back to the main display. The alien data had shifted again, revealing a new pattern, a star map highlighting a specific region of space. They're showing us something, she said, enhancing the image. A trajectory. The map zoomed in, revealing a massive object moving through the void. Something vast and dark, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. That's what's coming toward us, Josephine whispered, the astronomical implications immediately clear to her. Not a ship, not a weapon, something much, much bigger. We need to build this communication device now, Rohan insisted. We need to understand exactly what we're seeing. Tanaka nodded grimly. I'll secure the resources. How soon can you begin construction? With unlimited resources, Nadia calculated quickly. 3 weeks at minimum. The quantum entanglement core alone will require materials that don't officially exist yet. You'll have whatever you need, Tanaka promised, already activating his secure link to government channels. As the others began organizing the massive undertaking ahead, Josephine found herself drawn back to the star map. Something about the approaching darkness tugged at her memory, a theoretical model she'd once dismissed as impossible. Artemis, she subvocalized to her AI assistant, cross-referenced this object's properties with the Devourer hypothesis from 2187. After a brief pause, the AI responded directly to her neural implant. Match probability 97.8%, Dr. Frost. Josephine felt her blood run cold. The Devourer hypothesis had proposed the existence of cosmic entities that consumed light, matter, and even the fabric of spacetime itself, theoretical constructs that most scientists had relegated to the realm of astrophysical fantasy. If the hypothesis was correct, and if such an entity was indeed approaching Earth. She looked around at her colleagues, now busily preparing to build humanity's first quantum entanglement communicator. They were working to establish contact to understand the warning. But Josephine feared they might already be too late. The countdown continued its relentless ticking, and somewhere in the depths of space, something ancient and hungry was drawing near. The quantum entanglement communicator stood at the center of what had once been the Atacama Observatory's main dome. Now, the facility had been transformed into Earth's first interstellar communication hub, with security measures that would have seemed excessive even for nuclear facilities a century ago. Activation sequence complete, Nadia announced, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The device, a mesmerizing configuration of crystalline structures suspended within a pulsating energy field, hummed with power. Quantum stability at 99.8% and holding. Dr. Josephine Frost couldn't help but marvel at what they'd accomplished in just 18 days. The technology that should have been centuries beyond Earth's reach now stood before them, built with materials that had required molecular reconstruction on a scale previously thought impossible. "Are we ready?" Director Tanaka asked. The past weeks had aged him visibly. The constant political battles to secure resources and maintain secrecy had taken their toll. Professor Rohan Thorne nodded, his eyes never leaving the final diagnostic readouts. "As ready as we'll ever be, the entanglement coordinates match the source of the original signal." "Then let's make history," Josephine said, taking her position at the primary communications station. With a shared look of determination, Nadia activated the final sequence. The crystalline core of the device flared with brilliant blue-white light, then stabilized into a pulsating glow. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the air itself seemed to ripple, and a presence filled the room. It wasn't visual at first, more a sensation of being observed, of another consciousness extending into their space. Then the projection field activated, and they found themselves facing something none of them had anticipated. "That's not what I expected," Rohan whispered. The being before them resembled nothing so much as a shifting pattern of light and color, a consciousness composed of energy rather than matter. When it spoke, the words formed directly in their minds, bypassing language entirely. "We are Lamar, we represent the alliance of 7 galaxies. Your construction of this device confirms your species' potential." Josephine stepped forward. "We received your warning, you mentioned danger. The Void Harbinger approaches your spiral arm. We have established a galactic assembly to coordinate response. Your presence is requested." "Our presence," Tanaka interjected. "You mean representatives from Earth?" "Correct, the assembly convenes in neutral space. Transport coordinates follow." Information flooded their systems, spatial coordinates, temporal alignments, and something else, a technology labeled simply as fold drive. "This is a faster-than-light propulsion system," Nadia realized, her enhanced vision scanning through the technical specifications. "They're giving us the means to reach them. The assembly convenes in 7 rotations of your world. Bring your 3 vessels, choose your representatives with care. The future of your species depends on your participation." Before anyone could respond, the presence withdrew, leaving the room feeling strangely empty. "Did that just happen?" Rohan asked, blinking rapidly. "It did," Josephine confirmed, already examining the transmitted data. "And we have 7 days to build an interstellar spacecraft." Director Tanaka laughed, a sound devoid of humor. "Impossible." "Not entirely," Nadia countered, her eyes still processing the technical specifications. "These fold drive plans are designed to integrate with our existing aerospace technology. With global resources and the right team," she paused, calculating, "it's theoretically possible." "Then we make it happen," Josephine said firmly. "If this Void Harbinger is what I suspect it is, we need all the help we can get." The next 6 days passed in a blur of frantic activity. The world's leading aerospace engineers, quantum physicists, and materials scientists were quietly brought to a remote facility in the Mojave Desert. 3 existing prototype spacecraft, originally designed for interplanetary exploration, were retrofitted with the alien technology. News of the project was kept from the general public, classified at the highest levels of global security. Only a select committee of world leaders knew the full truth. On the 7th day, Josephine stood with Rohan and Nadia before the gleaming hull of the lead vessel, christened Emissary. "The crews are ready," Director Tanaka reported, approaching with a tablet displaying the final manifest. 9 persons per vessel, including pilots, engineers, and diplomatic personnel. "And us," Josephine added. The decision had been made days ago. Those who had first contacted the Lamar would join the mission. Their familiarity with the situation made them invaluable. "Final systems check is green across all vessels," Nadia confirmed, her neural implants directly interfacing with the ship's quantum cores. "The fold drives are stable and calibrated to the provided coordinates." "Then it's time," Rohan said quietly. Launch preparations proceeded with military precision. The 3 vessels, Emissary, Covenant, and Horizon, rose into the night sky on conventional thrusters, their departure disguised as a routine satellite deployment mission. Once beyond Earth's atmosphere, the real journey would begin. Josephine settled into her acceleration couch aboard Emissary, the nervous energy of the crew palpable around her. Beside her, Rohan looked uncharacteristically solemn, while Nadia's expression remained focused on the data streaming directly to her enhanced vision. "Fold drive activation in 30 seconds, announced Captain Vargas, her hands steady on the advanced controls. "All personnel prepare for dimensional transition." What do you think will happen, Rohan asked quietly, glancing at Josephine, when we fold space? Theoretically, nothing will perceive, she replied. The mathematics suggest we'll simply exist in one location, then another with no subjective time passage between. Theoretically, he echoed with a weak smile. Fold drive activating, Captain Vargas announced, in 3, 2, 1. A strange pressure built around them, not physical, but something more fundamental, as if reality itself was compressing. Then a flash of what could only be described as non-light, a color that existed outside the visible spectrum yet was somehow perceived. And they were elsewhere. Where Earth's blue-white star had once dominated the view screen, an unfamiliar expanse of space now stretched before them. And they were not alone. Vessels of countless designs hung in precise formation around a massive central structure, a space station that defied conventional architecture, its shape reminiscent of a crystalline snowflake spanning kilometers in every direction. My gods, Rohan breathed, look at them all. Hundreds of ships, each distinct in design, representing what must be hundreds of different civilizations. Some were sleek and metallic, others appeared almost organic. Some defied visual logic entirely, seeming to exist partially in dimensions beyond normal perception. We're receiving a transmission, the communications officer reported. It's everywhere, in all our systems simultaneously. Earth vessels recognized. Proceed to docking Array 17, the assembly awaits. As Emissary and her sister ships moved toward the designated docking area, guided by automated systems, Josephine felt the weight of the moment. Humanity, isolated for so long, was about to take its place among the civilizations of not just one galaxy but 7. I never imagined first contact would be like this, Nadia murmured, her enhanced eyes taking in every detail of the massive station. Not first contact, Josephine corrected her, first assembly. After docking procedures completed with surprising smoothness, the Earth delegation gathered in Emissary's conference room for final preparations. 27 humans, scientists, diplomats, military personnel, about to represent their entire species. Remember, Director Tanaka addressed them, we are here to learn about this threat and determine how best to protect Earth. We make no binding agreements without consensus. With respect, Director, Josephine countered, we need to approach this with more than just self-interest. If this assembly includes civilizations from 7 galaxies, the threat must be of unprecedented scale. Before Tanaka could respond, the ship's systems chimed. Earth delegation, the central chamber awaits, your guide approaches. The docking tube illuminated, and a figure emerged, humanoid in general shape, but with iridescent skin that shifted like oil on water and eyes with vertical pupils that glowed with inner light. Greetings, Earthborn, the being spoke, its voice melodic with unusual harmonics. I am DA-Trek's liaison to newly arrived delegations. The assembly has awaited your arrival with great anticipation. You speak our language, Rohan noted with surprise. DA-Trex's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. I speak all languages represented in the assembly. It is my function. The being gestured toward the station. Please follow me. The session of revelation is about to begin and your presence is required. As they followed their guide through corridors that seemed to shift subtly around them, adapting to their physiology, Josephine couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into something far larger than they had prepared for. How many species are represented here? She asked DA-Trex. The assembly currently hosts representatives from 417 distinct evolutionary lineages, DA-Trex replied casually. You are the 418th. And all of this, Rohan gestured around them, was organized because of the Void Harbinger. DA-Trex's luminous eyes dimmed slightly. Not just a Harbinger, the ancient devourer that has consumed 12 galaxies in the observable universe. The end of light approaches your spiral arm and soon your world. The guide stopped before a massive doorway that seemed to be composed of living metal. Through here the truth awaits, DA-Trex said solemnly. Are you prepared to face it? Josephine exchanged glances with her colleagues, then nodded. We are. The doors parted, revealing a vast chamber filled with beings of every conceivable form and many inconceivable ones. At the center, a holographic display showed something that made Josephine's blood run cold. A moving darkness vaster than stars, consuming everything in its path. The Galactic Assembly had begun. The assembly chamber hummed with the collective tension of 418 species, each facing extinction. At its center, the holographic display revealed the full horror of what approached, a cosmic anomaly of impossible scale, a living void that consumed light, matter, and spacetime itself. The ancient devourer announced a being composed of crystalline structures that shifted and realigned as it spoke. Once a theoretical impossibility, now an existential threat to all sentient life in the known universe. Josephine stood transfixed, her astronomer's mind struggling to comprehend the scale of what she was seeing. The devourer was not a singular entity but a complex cosmic phenomenon, a living breach in reality that spread like a cancer through the fabric of spacetime. How does it consume entire galaxies? She whispered to DHREX, who remained at the Earth delegation's side. It exists partially beyond conventional dimensions, the iridescent guide explained. It doesn't merely destroy matter, it unmakes it, converting everything into entropic energy that fuels its expansion. The crystalline speaker continued, its voice resonating throughout the chamber. For 12,000 cycles, the Alliance has tracked the Devourer's path through the cosmos. For 12,000 cycles, we have failed to halt its advance. Images appeared around the chamber, civilizations far more advanced than Earth's deploying weapons and defense systems of godlike power. All failing, all being consumed. Then why bring us here? Director Tanaka challenged, his voice cutting through the murmurs of the assembled representatives. If your combined technologies cannot stop this thing, what possible contribution could Earth make? A ripple of something like amusement passed through the gathering. Because you are the missing variable, came a new voice. A being stepped forward, humanoid in general shape but with features that shifted between solid and gaseous states, its eyes glowing with inner radiance. I am Jorax, keeper of prophecies for the 7th galaxy. Rohan frowned, prophecies you're basing your strategy on religious texts. Not religion, Jorax corrected. Probability calculations spanning millions of years and billions of data points, what you might call quantum precognition. The central display shifted, showing a familiar blue-white planet. Earth, Jorax continued, a world that should have joined the galactic community millennia ago, yet remained in isolated development. A statistical anomaly so profound that it defies random chance. You're saying our isolation was intentional? Nadia asked, her enhanced eyes scanning the data streams that now surrounded them. Someone kept us apart from the rest of the galaxy. Not someone, Jorax corrected, something, the same force that now threatens us all. A new series of images appeared, ancient Earth, visited by beings from the stars. Then, abruptly, those visitations ceasing. A cosmic quarantine enforced by subtle manipulations of spacetime around the Sol system. The Devourer is not mindless, DHREX explained quietly. It possesses a form of intelligence, ancient, alien, but undeniably sentient, and it fears something about your world. Josephine's scientific skepticism warred with the evidence before her. What could Earth possibly have that would threaten something capable of consuming entire galaxies? That, said a new voice, is what we must discover. The crowd parted to reveal a being unlike any other in the chamber, a swirling vortex of light contained within a roughly humanoid form. The Lamar representative who had first contacted them through the quantum entanglement device. The probability matrices are clear, the Lamar continued, its thoughts forming directly in their minds. Earth holds the key to the Devourer's destruction, but the nature of that key remains hidden even from our most advanced precognitive technologies. So you want us to find this weapon? Tanaka asked, his military mind immediately focusing on tactical applications. Perhaps it is not a weapon at all, the Lamar countered. Perhaps it is knowledge or a specific quantum state or even an evolutionary path unique to your world. Whatever it may be, we must discover it before the Devourer reaches your solar system. How long do we have? Josephine asked, the scientist in her already calculating possibilities. At its current rate of approach, approximately 37 of your days, Jorax replied, hence the urgency of our summons. 37 days, just over a month to find an unknown solution to an incomprehensible threat. The weight of this responsibility settled over the Earth delegation like a physical force. We need access to all your data on the Devourer, Nadia stated, her enhanced cognitive systems already formulating analysis protocols. Everything you've learned in 12,000 cycles of observation. You shall have it, the Lamar agreed. And in return, we require unrestricted access to Earth's scientific and historical records. Director Tanaka bristled. That's a security concern that I cannot. The alternative is extinction, Director, Rohan interrupted sharply. I think national security becomes rather moot when faced with the end of all life on our planet. After a tense moment, Tanaka nodded reluctantly. The chamber erupted in activity as the greatest minds from hundreds of civilizations began the most important collaborative effort in the history of the known universe. The Earth delegation was assigned a section of the station where they could work comfortably within environments adjusted to their physiology. 3 days passed in a blur of information exchange and analysis. Josephine barely slept, her mind racing with possibilities and theories. Rohan worked alongside linguists from a dozen different species, searching for patterns in ancient Earth texts that might hold forgotten knowledge. Nadia interfaced directly with the station's vast computational systems, her enhanced cognition pushing even her formidable abilities to their limits. On the fourth day, Josephine found herself standing alone before the central holographic display, watching the inexorable approach of the Devourer. Something about its movement pattern tugged at her memory, a familiar rhythm that she couldn't quite place. "You perceive it, don't you?" came D'Atrex's melodic voice from behind her. "The pattern within chaos." She nodded slowly. "It's familiar somehow, but I can't place it, like a song I've heard before but can't name." "The Devourer's advance isn't random," D'Atrex confirmed. "It follows a complex mathematical sequence, one that has resisted all attempts at prediction by our greatest minds." Josephine continued to stare at the display, her astronomer's eye trained to detect patterns in cosmic phenomena. "It's almost like..." Her voice trailed off as realization struck. She turned to D'Atrex, her eyes wide. "I need to speak with the Lamar immediately." Minutes later, she stood before the luminous being, explaining her theory with growing excitement. "The Devourer's movement pattern," she said, highlighting specific sequences in the data. "It's not just similar to the quantum fluctuations we observed in our earliest SETI programs, it's identical." The Lamar's consciousness rippled with interest. "Explain." 250 years ago, when humanity first began serious attempts to detect extraterrestrial intelligence, we recorded anomalous quantum signals that we eventually dismissed as background radiation. Josephine's hands flew across the interface, pulling up her personal research archives. "But look at the pattern comparison. The two waveforms overlaid perfectly, the ancient Earth recordings and the Devourer's cosmic dance." "It was already watching us," she whispered. "Even then, it was watching us." "And finding something that disturbed it enough to quarantine your world," the Lamar concluded. "This connection is significant." Word spread quickly through the assembly. Within hours, a new theory began to take shape, one that placed Earth at the center of a cosmic mystery spanning millions of years. On the seventh day, Nadia made a breakthrough. "It's not a weapon," she announced to the gathered team, her eyes glowing with the intensity of her discovery. "It's a frequency." The holographic display shifted to show a complex waveform, one that perfectly inverted the Devourer's own pattern. "Every complex wave has its perfect destructive counterpart," Nadia explained. "A frequency that, when perfectly aligned in opposition, results in mutual annihilation." "And Earth somehow produces this counterfrequency?" Rohan asked, skepticism evident in his voice. "Not Earth itself," Nadia clarified, "but something that evolved there, something unique to our world." Another 3 days of feverish research narrowed the possibilities, until finally, on the 11th day of the assembly, the truth emerged. "It's us," Josephine said quietly, the final analysis confirming what had seemed impossible: human consciousness itself. The evidence was irrefutable. The human brain, through some evolutionary quirk unique to Earth, generated quantum field patterns that precisely countered the Devourer's own reality-warping frequency. "Not just any human consciousness," Rohan added, indicating the detailed scans, "but a specific harmonic that occurs when multiple human minds focus on the same quantum state simultaneously." "A counter-resonance," the Lamar confirmed, "one that could potentially unmake the Devourer as it has unmade countless worlds." The plan that emerged was both elegantly simple and logistically daunting. Earth would become the bait, drawing the Devourer into proximity. Then, at the precise moment of optimal alignment, the counter-frequency would be amplified through a global network of quantum resonators, using the collective consciousness of humanity as its source. "It's untested," Director Tanaka protested. "We'd be risking our entire species on a theory." "A theory supported by 12,000 cycles of data from hundreds of civilizations," Jorax countered. "The probability of success exceeds 87%. "And the alternative is certain extinction," Josephine reminded them all. The decision was made. The Earth delegation departed the assembly with representatives from 27 K species, bringing with them the technology needed to transform their world into both bait and trap for an ancient cosmic horror. Back on Earth, the next 3 weeks passed in a whirlwind of global cooperation unlike anything in human history. Quantum resonators were constructed at strategic locations across the planet, their design incorporating both alien technology and uniquely human innovation. As the final countdown began, Josephine stood with Rohan and Nadia atop the primary control facility in the Atacama, watching the sunset paint the desert in shades of gold and crimson. "Do you think it will work?" Rohan asked quietly. "The math is sound," Nadia replied, her enhanced vision already detecting the subtle distortions in spacetime that heralded the Devourer's approach. "The rest is up to 7 billion human minds." "It's fitting in a way," Josephine mused, "that our salvation would come not from weapons or shields, but from consciousness itself, from what makes us human." Above them, the stars began to disappear as a shadow darker the night spread across the heavens. The ancient devourer had arrived, drawn inexorably to the counter-frequency that had disturbed its cosmic hunger for millennia. Alarms sounded worldwide as quantum systems activated. In every city, town, and village across the globe, humanity received the same simple instruction: focus your thoughts on the signal being broadcast through every communication channel on Earth. A single harmonic note, designed to align billions of human minds into one coherent quantum state. As the darkness above them grew, consuming more stars with each passing second, Josephine closed her eyes and focused on the tone resonating through her consciousness. Around the world, humanity did the same, united for the first time in history by the most fundamental threat imaginable. The resonators reached full power, amplifying the collective quantum state of human consciousness and projecting it outward toward the encroaching void. For one terrible moment, nothing happened. The darkness continued to spread. Then, at the point of contact between human consciousness and cosmic horror, a new light bloomed, neither the darkness of the Devourer nor the familiar light of stars, but something entirely new, a boundary state where reality itself was being rewritten. The light expanded exponentially, consuming the darkness as the darkness had consumed countless worlds before. Where the Devourer unmade reality, the counter-frequency remade it, a cosmic reset that spread outward in a wave of creation. In the control center, instruments overloaded and failed as reality itself fluctuated around them. Josephine clutched Rohan's hand, both of them watching in awe as the impossible unfolded before their eyes. When it was over, when the skis cleared and the stars returned, a new signal arrived through the quantum entanglement communicator. The voice of the Lamar, filled with something that might have been joy. "It is done, the ancient devourer is no more, the quarantine is lifted. Earth has taken its place among the 7 galaxies." Later, as dawn broke over the Atacama, representatives from hundreds of worlds began to arrive, not in secret this time, but in full view of Earth's populace. The age of isolation was over. "What happens now?" Director Tanaka asked, watching as ships of impossible design descended peacefully toward designated landing zones worldwide. Josephine smiled, her eyes on the horizon where a new day was beginning. "Everything," she said simply, "everything happens now." Beside her, Rohan and Nadia nodded in agreement, their minds already racing with the possibilities that awaited humanity among the stars. After centuries of silence, Earth had not only heard the galaxy's call, it had answered, and in doing so had saved all life everywhere. The silence was broken forever.